guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here with my friend Christian.
What's up?
And we're going to be doing a Death Grips discog ranking.
That's so true, bestie.
So Christian knows way more about Death Grips than I do. I've only listened to Ex-Military and The Money Store and Government Plates. That's it. But this man knows the Death Grips discog inside and out. So I'll just let him take the floor.
So, okay, well, for more context, I've been trying to put Nate on Death Grips for, the past, 6 years. So, I mean, easily since, 2017.
Easily since
2016 even. Yeah. This is, ridiculous. But anyway, so he should be familiar, but, it's not like we're playing the music live, so I'm sure you would recognize it.
What you bring, what you get it, give it here, I said don't sweat it!
Okay, so I think we should get started, chronologically, and the beginning would be the Death Grips EP. And so I think the Death Grips EP is kind of like a strong opener. It has a lot of good tracks. I believe Full Moon and the self-titled are on there, and both are very groundbreaking for Death Grips. Well, I don't know. I think it really sets the tone for them because I get it was kind of experimenting before Ex-Military. I mean, you have Zach Hill, you have Andy Morin, who followed me on Instagram. Alpha would be the EP. Beta would be Ex-Military. And then I guess the finished product would be the Money Store. Mm-hmm. So, but there's a lot of influences that you can already hear that, and I think it's just super interesting. I think it's kind of slept on also, but I don't think it's it's just they're coming into formulation. So I'm going to put it at a solid B.
All right. What is the next chronological album?
So that would be Ex-Military in 2011.
Okay, I can talk about this as well.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Ex-Military is the second Death Grips album that I've listened to. The first one was Money Store. That was actually with you and John. When I was listening to the entire album, I really enjoyed the entire thing. Except for 2 songs on the back half. But they still fit the theme of the entire album. And I kind of described the experience as finding a spaceship and just going into it and exploring around.
I agree.
Right? What do you have to say about Ex-Military?
So, I mean, I want to build off kind of the mental image that you put in. To me, when I first listened to it, or I guess listened to it in tandem, song after song, and I always have the image of Beware, the music video. It begins with MC Ride running through the desert basically, and then he supposedly he pees in a toilet, and then it kind of shows a house burning or something like that. And then I kind of have to describe that's the entire what it sounds like. It sounds like you are I wouldn't say quite post-apocalyptic, but definitely reduced to a primal state in a a very treacherous biome or something.
Yeah. I felt like I was fighting for my life.
Absolutely.
When I was listening to Ex-Military.
Beginning with Beware, this is one of my favorite Death Grips songs of all time. They have the Dickie Burton sample, which is God Is Watching You. It's hey, God is watching you. Well, I don't know exactly how it went, but it's a reggae sample, and it's just masterfully used. It's just I don't hear people really sample reggae in a way where it's I don't know, not reliant on the sample and is artistically unique. Not to be mentioned the beginning part where the Charles Manson sermon basically, and it's just man, it's they're starting out with a reggae sample with a Charlie Manson quote, and it's just what these people are going to be talking about.
I throw the word eclectic around a lot, but this is actually eclectic stuff. Yeah. And it means pulling from a bunch of different sources.
Absolutely.
And yeah, this is literally as eclectic as you can get. Dude, Guillotine was my first Death Grips music video experience. Yeah. And it's just MC Ride in a car, and it's static outside, and he's just screaming his head off. You can approach this more so in the audio engineer standpoint. I can't, because I don't know anything about that.
Well, the thing is when it comes to this mixtape, it's it's very well mixed for a mixtape, but then also is within the confines of the genre, and this is 2011. Andy Morin's using I don't know, probably I don't even think he would use Pro Tools. He would probably use Digital Performer or something like that. So the next song I believe would be Lord of the Game. Lord of the Game is an excellent song. Andy Morin had a bit to say on that, and the Mexican girl, that's such a funny.
Oh, what's her name? Is her name actually Mexican Girl?
No, it's not.
But when you would look up Mexican girl.
Yeah, I know.
Collaborator.
That was like the joke. That was
of
just
Mexican girls.
Yeah, it was just like it's kind of a funny troll, I guess. Okay, so and the next would be Tachyon, which is another that's like another lead single, and like it's just so good. And then like
I think Tachyon is a top 10 Death Grip song. Top 5.
Then the last one is Blood Creeping. I think that's an excellent outro.
Yeah, it's like a loop in itself.
I mean, I talk way too much about this. What do you think, Nate?
S.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so next would technically be Live from Death Valley, and then like this is basically like 2 songs. I mean,
it's
like
2 songs.
So there's Fired Up and Poser Killer. I like Poser Killer. I don't exactly remember Fired Up as much as I do. I mean, I'm just going off like memory. I remember I like Poser Killer. It's like Poser Killer, Poser Killer, Poser Killer, and it's just like it's pretty cool.
Never listened to this.
I think it's pretty cool, and like I think like I don't know, it's a little unfair for it to be compared to like fully complete albums. So I'll say that
it's 2 songs.
Yeah. I think if these are leftovers of the EP and ex-military, these are still good. And it's still like kind of a rare find. However, just because of like they do just sound like leftovers, and their leftovers are still pretty good. But like it's nothing compared to the EP or ex-military whatsoever. But I'll put it in a C.
C tier.
Yeah.
Okay.
So next up, canonically, Money Store.
Okay. I'll just say that it's gonna go in S tier as well.
Okay.
I'm just gonna. What do you think about that?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Why?
Well, because like okay, so at this point, the boys got signed. They're with Epic Records. They're doing business like normal people. They're behaving for now. And so it's like, how do we develop our sound to be like slightly? It's not mainstream at all, but digestible.
It is. Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Some of the standout tracks to me are Punk Weight, Hacker.
Punk Weight's so good.
And then like the sampling of the Arabic ringtone, like Double Helix, I liked that one's like kind of slept on. I think there's a lot of good ones on there.
I got footage.
I like it when MC Ride on that breaks into a Jamaican accent. I didn't know he could do that. For the longest time, I thought they were singing like an address, and I was like, 25
in Punk Wait.
Whose house is that? Yeah, no, it's the random ass. Like, sorry, I'm not trying to...
Yo, that's awesome.
It's just so cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but like they still keep that formula from like kind of ex-military, or like they have like what they're known for, like Unlocked, and they're making it more digestible, purposely or not. Zach Hill's drums is as great as always. Andy Moore's production is always great. The mixing like is pretty good. It's much better. You can tell they have like a budget. So
because they're not indie anymore at this point.
Yeah. So definitely like when people think of Death Grips, they think of the Money Store, which I think is a little bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But it's ubiquitous with their image, like down to the even once again the album art. This is so famous. It's on so many shirts. You know what I mean?
I go to a lot of record stores. I see this vinyl a lot. Yeah. So you think S tier, but do you think below or above ex-military?
How about we discuss that later?
Okay.
Juices like you're on your own.
Next up is
No Love
Deep Web.
Oh my god!
I can't talk about this album at all. So
this album is like, oh my god! Just like the story of Death Grips is so enthralling. It's so good, and like No Love Deep Web is a complete minimalist like strip back of like what they are known for. I mean, it's more minimalist than ex-military. I mean, that's what they made up to at this point. It's far less pop sounding than the Money Store, if you can call the Money Store somewhat pop sounding. I don't think it really is, but so No Love Deep Web and canonically in like the story of Death Grips is when they basically got like upset with Epic Records, and that's a whole other thing that probably take much time to get into.
Hence the album cover, right?
Which is Zach Hill's like confirmed.
Mm-hmm. Would you say this is Zach Hill's album where he shines the most?
Well, because like Zach Hill has like a lot of fingers and a lot of pies when it comes to this thing, because he also writes lyrics. He definitely directs MC Wright a little bit. I mean, they all have creative freedom, but like he was definitely like kind of the spearhead of this. Maybe I definitely would say that Zach Hill is probably the most pissed on this album, which I mean, take that for what you will. I mean, like of course MC Wright is the one screaming on it, but like how can drums back up someone screaming so well? Like that anger is like, communicated through the drums just as much as it is through literally like lyrics. And that is what is so impressive to me. It's supposed to just make you so paranoid. It's supposed to make you feel like someone's out to get you. It's supposed to make you feel like you had a coke addiction for 8 months and you're stuck in your trap house. Like there's windows are broken, and then like there's our cars are pulling up. It's just someone's car, but you think it's someone out to get you.
Kind of reminds me of like that Breaking Bad episode of Jesse in the trap house.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that you're saying No Love Deep Web sounds like that.
A little bit. I mean, like, how annoying are we as like men talking about Breaking Bad and Death Grips in like the same sentence?
So, what do you think,
dude? Because we already have like 2 albums in S, and like
this is your tier list.
This is the type of like album that literally gets you booted off a record label, and they did.
Yeah. But you think it's S?
I want to say this. It sounds more rebellious than the Money Store, and that's what I like about it. So I'm gonna put it right here. There's like this whole like community now where they rate individual SpongeBob episodes, and like people have hot takes like all the time, but like they contest over just like season 4 of SpongeBob is actually good. It'd be like that level of nerd, or like talk about No Love Deep Web versus the Money Store. Oh, I know it would be controversial.
Oh my God. So, Government Plates is your favorite?
Okay, let me explain this real quick. Okay, I'm like slightly trolling. I'm just gonna put it in name. But what I'm going to say is that Government Plates gets like hate for like no reason, I think. I don't know exactly what flavor. It's definitely more of a Zach Hill and Andy Morin centric album. I think Rise takes like a kind of like a backseat like to this, even though his vocals are well done on this. It's more of a complimentary to most of the beats in this. No Love Deep Web is primal minimal. This is almost like club minimal. It's like almost like digital minimal. I hear more synths on this. I hear more club work on this. I hear like an acid synthesizer on this. I know like they're in like more of their like club bag on this one. I think this album does get like too much hate, and then like I don't think it deserves it. I mean, they literally have like Batman on this.
Robert Pattinson, Edward is literally on this album, literally.
And isn't that insane?
I actually listened to Government Plates because you told me that Robert Pattinson is doing guitar work on here.
Yeah,
and I thought it was really good. Not as good as Ex-Military or Money Store, but I thought it was great. A tier?
I would put it on A tier because like I feel like more like whatever your typical Death Grips fan would put it in B, C, or even like lower than that, which I really don't think it deserves. Government Plates is more of like kind of like a step away from not a step away, but like
what you think it's a regression or
it's not a regression. It's a sidestep. Okay, Government Plates definitely influences Bondless Pit, and I would even say Steroids. And I'll probably get into that when I touch on these later because they definitely add a bit more of like that kind of tongue-in-cheek like footwork techno type of thing going on.
So, what is next up chronologically?
The first half of the Powers That Be. So this is the album I tell Nate about, like to hype him up about Death Grips. Like, guess what? They use Bjork samples. Hey,
Biophilia.
Bjork. So I mean, like, it's funny you mentioned Biophilia because Death Grips had remixes on Biophilia, specifically Thunderbolt and Sacrifice. So that would be like a little like extra out there. So for you Death Grips heads or whatever. I believe Zach Hill and Andy Morin, they took the Bjork samples and like they loaded it into synth drums, like what you got. And then like the cymbal would be like Bjork moaning. And then like, the kick would be like
Bjork moaning. I see.
So it was kind of
just
cool.
The sound pack.
Mm-hmm. I can actually like play this one like at a club. Like people would go like kind of, or like they would.
Is it specifically mixed for a club setting?
No, I don't think so. But like it's just like it's one of those things where it's 4 on 4 beat and like they have like kind of like a side chain going on. I think that's just off the top of my head because like it is a bit of a rougher listen coming off of like even Government Plates. I think, which is fine. I mean, like if you're using Bjork samples as the majority of your instruments, like what else do you expect?
So what do you think?
I definitely think in my full opinion, it is one of the weaker albums in their discography, like the first half. So,
All right.
it is better than the EP. Okay, like the EP gets saved a lot because it has Full Moon. If it were not for Full Moon, I wouldn't rate the EP that much. But Full Moon's a good song.
And then second half.
All right, so this is Jenny Death, the album I can say. So Jenny Death is a very interesting like addition to the first half of Powers That Be. There's like a whole like contention where just like they didn't even know if like the band was still a thing, the group was still a thing or whatever. But to me, it's just like one of those bands that like are important to the music canon. I think people don't give them enough credit for that, and I think that's a shame. But like I think they are like rock stars, like genuinely, but like they're not like seen as that. It's industrial hip hop or whatever. But it's just like I bring up the rock star stuff because this is a very guitar heavy album, and I forget who they had on guitars, but it was definitely a monumental moment. They had like a lot of abrasive guitars, but like it's just like I'm not used to hearing Death Grips over guitar. I'm used to hearing them over like a screaming Arabic man.
It's a change from industrial hip hop mixing to like sweaty grunge punk mixing. You'd say
kinda on some songs they still keep the industrial edge like on it, and then like for songs like On GP, that's very much like like one of the things when I listen to On GP is like, oh, Kurt Cobain would like this or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, have you listened to Bleach by Nirvana?
Of course.
Yeah, I would imagine that Death Grips listen to Bleach a lot.
I would agree. I'm trying to remember like exactly like they don't really say influences, and like also like in the interviews are like I don't get influenced. I mean like like I have a high respect for them, but it's like sometimes I can't tell if they're like spaced out or if they're being pretentious on purpose. But honestly, I think the real truth is that they just like trolling us.
Where does Jenny rank?
I definitely think it's better than the first half of it, though.
A tier?
Wow, I think I would piss people off if I rank it lower than Government Plates.
Really?
Yeah. Next is like kind of like the more side project sort of things. Oops.
Fashion Week?
What I said about Government Plates, about being more club work, honestly applies to Fashion Week. But Fashion Week is a bit different in that like it's supposed to sound like that you are at a fashion show, but like kind of produced by Death Grips. I honestly do think it's better than A Life from Death Valley. It's just like
oh yeah.
Well, because like I like the song Poser Killer on this, but it's just like this has so many more tracks, and then like I remember like I would study to this or something like that because it's just like it's so hypnotic and like it is dynamic and interesting. And also it samples previous Death Grip songs, but in like a way where it's like more clubby. Okay, so next would be Interview 2016. Interview is similar to Fashion Week, but I believe it's just 4 tracks.
Is that Jim Carrey?
No, it's not.
Who is that?
I forget his name, but he's like this interview guy, or like he's like actually like kind of famous, and it's like I wonder like why did Death Grips like work with him?
I've always thought that was Jim Carrey.
That's funny, but like if you watch it, like this is like also like an album that's like or EP that's supposed to be like watched with like the video. I remember like I would watch it and it was like 12 minutes long, and it was just like it was so hypnotic to me because like they would think it's an interview, and like in the interview like they're actually like the guy's interviewing them, and then like they're playing music for him and all that, but it's just like there's no like recording, like audio recording of them. It's just like the music over, like it's once again kind of trolling, like where it's just like, oh, you're not going to actually hear that. You thought you were going to hear an interview. No, it's just like our music. As far as side projects go, once again, I like the brevity of this a bit more, and I feel like it's a bit more dynamic than Runaway, and so I do think it's better than Runaway.
All right.
I mean, Fashion Week, excuse me.
Bottomless Pit.
Bondless Pit is one of the ones for me. There's one of the things in the Death Grips community that is as contentious as arguing SpongeBob Season 2 versus Season 3 is the Bondless Pit versus the Money Store. Because you're like...
wow.
Because you're like, the Money Store is the original. It was 2012, and...
Got the 10.
In the record. They got... The thing about Bondless Pit, it's just like, this is the spiritual successor to the Money Store. Government Plates would be more of a digital undoing that the Money Store is, and I feel like No Love Deep Web is like the analog undoing of Ex-Military. Okay, so that being said, between Money Store and the Government Plates, what is rebuilt from the ashes that Government Plates destroyed from the Money Store is Bottomless Pit. Bottomless Pit is the successor to the Money Store, and I think it's superior because the production is more sharp. The production, they knew what they were doing more. they had the sound of the Money Store. They knew what worked for them, at least for like a more digestible sound. They expanded on that while still maintaining their roots. And then also, like, you can kind of hear between each member of the group is that they are in their bag and they are comfortable. They are comfortable on the Money Store, but they're also like kind of trying to prove a point. And so that makes sense because that's their debut album. But on the Bondless Pit, they are comfortable. They are established. They knew who they are since, this. But it's just like, we know who you are and you know who we are. I have an example, like 80808, 80 Bite That, 8080, Bite That. He sounds more like what he did in like 2005. Like, he brought that back because he's just like, this is like actually who I am. Maybe he had more creative direction on that song. This is like what followed him like through the beginning of like MC Wright's rapping career. And I feel like that is most shown on Bottomless Pit. I'm going to be honest. And there's like authenticity in that. I mean, like here, like they're chill, but just like, boys, we got ourselves a record deal. This is like, we don't give.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Where's your placement?
Yeah.
All right. Next up is Steroids.
Yes, it would be Steroids.
Okay.
All right, Steroids. I also made like a connection to Government Plates, but it's a bit different because Government Plates was like kind of a sidestep. Steroids is also a sidestep. Technically, this is like a mix, or like technically it's one song that's 20 minutes, but just like with different like bridges and parts. I heard a roll of hi-hats. I heard I heard it in 808. I'm like, they're doing trap music. And I loved it. And it's just like, oh my god. Like, I have to say though, the thing about Steroids is that, okay, it's a 20-minute like mix basically of just like straight death grips. And like, what's difficult about it is that you kind of have to listen to all of it in tandem. Because I mean, like, 20 minutes is like kind of an awkward amount of time. I mean, like, I'm really like picking here because like it's a really good just like mix. But like, it makes the most sense listening to it when you listen to all 20 minutes of it. Technically, yes, there are like different songs in it, and then they mix one into another. But like, it's really good.
I remember you showed me this when it came out in
Yeah.
like 2017,
Mm-hmm.
and I listened to it, and I couldn't get past the first like minute. It was so just abhorrent. I just like switched to something else.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I don't want to like bring too much like me personally into this, but like I've been trying to get people like onto this like for years, and like
You have.
it's
You
like
really have.
it's a little unfortunate because like I'm not as big an advocate as I am now, but it's because they haven't put out music.
2018, we were in high school, dude.
It's true.
We were in
Because
we're
I
gonna graduate
remember
college soon.
I remember I was trying to get people on Bondless Pit when it came out, Steroids when it came out, and You're the Snitch when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
So where would you put Steroids?
Okay, you know what? Actually, right here. Because
All right.
I don't mean to pick one song out of an album and be like, if it wasn't for this one song, but for Jenny Death, it would be on GP. That song's really good.
Just because of that song, it's the B tier gatekeeper.
On GP is like one of my top 10 songs. If it were like, because I remember one of people's complaints with Jenny Death is that like it does feel a bit bloated. And like the thing, just going back to Jenny Death for a second, if you even consider this like one album, like it is kind of bloated. Like the thing is like it is a really good album. Like you can cut like some songs and like make a B-side tape, and Jenny Death would be better. You know what I mean?
But it was released as is.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like that's like kind of like avoidant criticism or something like that. But it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So finally, You're the Snitch. And like
2018.
This is such an interesting time for them because like they were supposed to like dissolve as a band like 3 albums ago. So I remember when Death Grips like dropped like the teaser for this. I was so enamored by the way that they're advertising their album. I remember like I was following their Instagram or whatever, of course. And then like they post like a video, a very cryptic video. I clicked on it and it was like pictures of like random like things. And then like it was kind of clever because it was like, oh, we know you're on iPhone. So you get like iMessages of like this guy texting cryptic stuff to you. And then like it was just like, but it would be like the names of like the album like number and like not the album, song number and song title. I thought that was so creative, even though like, I mean, actually it still is creative. That holds up to me to this day. This is also like one of the albums that kind of solidifies to me that like they would be like contentious with classic rock stars. This was recorded at Sunset Sound. And like to me, that's a big thing. Okay, to audio engineers, that's a big thing. A lot of important people were gonna record at Sunset Sound. Little Richard, you know him?
Mm-hmm.
He has a song named after him on the album.
Little Richard,
because almost like an abstraction of like pretentious classic rock. You know what I mean?
There are some complaints
Go ahead.
that Year of the Snitch is kind of badly mixed. Would you agree with that?
I would have to critically listen to it again. And like, I'm sorry, I don't feel like I'm giving much of an audio engineering perspective like on all of this because I mean, I would need to like listen to like the FLAC file on my Audio Technicas like real quick. I'm only saying this stuff because I applied to Sunset Sound and they need to get back to me. So Andy, I know you stuck around this long, and I know you have connections there. You should hit me up.
Hook them up.
Any activity from them, from like touring or shows, have been like abysmal because the fan base. And I'm sorry, guys. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. It's just that they've been acting terrible to Death Grips. If I were Death Grips, I wouldn't want to put out another single piece of art or go on a show again. It's just been abysmal. People piss in the mosh pits. It's kind of a summation of like their brand, their ethos, their like image,
their mythology.
Mm-hmm. Because like they're solidifying themselves as recording artists in Sunset Sounds. Sure, it may not be platinum. It may not exactly be like Van Halen, but it's just like they are up there. They are of recording talent of Van Halen. I mean, like, you know, just like, okay, yeah, Death Grips can make Jump, but could Van Halen make Beware? I mean, like, this is like a 10-year-old who wants to be a rock star, and like I hear it. Sounds like they lived out their dream. Not that they lived out their. They have like a lot of prestige with this album, and it is shown. So I'm going to put it in A.
Okay, that was Christian's Death Grips Discog tier list. Did you agree with our ranking? Did you hate our ranking? Anything is okay because we're just here to share our opinion.
True.
Thank you guys for watching. Any last words?
Shout out Andy Morin. I'm glad that you stuck around.